to talk about Macrotasks and Microtasks, we'll first have to go back to the JavaScript runtime environment, my favorite diagram. We've looked at various bits of this, right? We've looked at the JavaScript engine, call stack, general event loop model in previous videos. Doesn't matter if you haven't watched them, this will still make sense. But what we haven't really looked at is the queue. Now the queue, it deals with kind of the asynchronous side of things. Something like a set timeout will put a task on the queue. The event loop goes round. When the call stack's empty, it will bring something, the oldest item from the queue, and it will run that. So that's all well and good. And then, bam, we get ES6, EX 2015, and we get promises. And now promises got their own queue. They got a new queue. So now there's two types of queue. There's so many different names for those two queues floating about on the internet that I'm just gonna I'm not even gonna try. I'm just gonna say there's two queues. And the important thing for me, at least, is that one queue deals with macro tasks, or we say normal tasks like executing JavaScript code, for instance. Like if you paste some code into the console, like I'll do in a bit, that's one macro task, that's one task. But the promises introduced, they got their own queue, which is a microtask queue. And whilst promises aren't the only thing that goes on the microtask queue, that seems like what it was made for. Anyway, I won't guess. But the important thing is there's a macrotask queue and a microtask queue now. Okay, so great. We've got two queues. So what? What's the difference? First, we're going to have a little look at how the normal queue works. Just a little recap. Don't mean to patronize you as always, because I'm sure you know, but I mean, I probably wrote this for myself. But right, okay, so we've got a function called recap, haha. And what this is doing is showing how the normal task queue, like macro tasks, are processed. So I think you know how this goes. I've got it in the comments under here anyway. So synchronous code, you're going through, recap hasn't been run yet. So one hits, it runs recap, sets up a timeout with a callback. So then this is async inside and is sent off to the normal queue. Then 3 hits next because that's synchronous. 4 hits next because that's synchronous. And then the call stack is empty. The event loop goes round and has a look on the queue. Okay, we got this callback. We got this macro task. We got this task. Let's run that now. The call stack's empty. And we get the 2. Great. So that is tasks. Macro tasks. Alright, so skipping to something a bit more interesting. We have the micro tasks being set up in this one. So let's have a look at the whole thing. We have one big macro task, which is all this code when we run it in the console. And as soon as we run this isClear function, it's going to go in there and it's going to set up a set timeout. This callback on the set timeout is going on the normal macro task queue as well. Next, we're going to make a new promise, and then we are going to act on that resolved promise because it's resolved straight away in there. Then we're going to have these thens returning promises and doing other things. So they are all microtasks, those thens. So it's a good time to have a guess at what's going to happen. You can already see one in the comments there because I'm so unprofessional. But yeah, so let's have a look through here. So we've got console log 1. That's, I would say, is clearly going to be the first one. Synchronous code. Then we're going inside this function. Set timeout. You know that's going to go on the main queue. So that console log's not going to run yet, right? This new promise, console log 3. So is that going to come out? It is. It is going to come out. So here we go with the code run. Just refresh to make sure you believe me. But yeah, so this, even though it's a promise, it's just making a new thing. This is going into the constructor, whatever. This is, to me, synchronous code. Yeah, so nothing happening there, not going on any queues, just straight away. So we got 1, we got 3. Then the microtasks are coming in. This is async stuff. We got 7 and we've got 8. So it is going to be 1, 3, 7, 8 for the start, right? 1, synchronous, 3, synchronous, 7, synchronous, 8, synchronous. Great. So that's all fine. Now, what's the next thing to run? Possibly the set timeout, or possibly one of these kind of fulfillment callback sort of things that have come from the resolve promise. Well, let's have a look. So it's going to be a 2 or a 4, isn't it? Most likely. And it is a 4. It is a 4. 4, 5, 6, 2. And I feel like I have quite a bit of a rubbish way of getting around to things. Maybe it's too long, too many examples. But this is the main part, and this is the difference between microtasks and macrotasks. So when the call stack is empty, the event loop will look to the queue, and it will get another macro task. So that's like running code, things like that. But when that macro task has finished, so if you consider this as a macro task, it will start running microtasks. So the microtask queue kind of has priority at the end of one loop of the event loop. So this is a macro task. It's finished. Does it go to the next macro task? No, it goes to the microtasks, these thens. So logs 4, 5, 6. Doesn't matter if there was 100 of these. All the microtasks are going to go before the next macro task, which is this set timeout. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. So that's that one. Let's have a look at the next thing, just to round off the edges. Boo, boo, boo. So what we've got here is a very similar example to the last one, but there is quite literally a function called Enqueuing Microtasks. So no messing around with promises, and just to show that there are macrotasks and microtasks, and it's not just like a promise specific thing. There's other things that use microtasks, like the mutation observer API, and probably some other things. But the main point is that microtasks are like a classification of task rather than something that's like 100% promise related. So here we have the Enqueuing Microtasks. So this acts very much in the same way as the last one. The set timeout is going to come last because it's a macro task. So we're going to finish this whole macro task. We're going to do these micro tasks, and we are going to go to the next macro task, which is the callback that the set timer set up. So what's the interesting thing about this one? What was the point of doing this example? Is that microtasks can on-queue other microtasks. So we've got queue microtask here, and inside that we've got another queue microtask. Well, I've put it in the comments underneath, but let's play it, huh? Although not so easy to see without the code there, but you can reference just to make sure, just to prove it's real. But as you can see from either that or this, 3, 5, 6, 3, 5, 6, 4. So what's good about that? It means that these microtasks have run before this set timeout, it's callback, that's logging the 2, and then this one specifically has queued another microtask which is going to log 4, and that comes after these, which makes sense. So like this one's run, logged it, set up another microtask, but they're carrying on through the queue because this one's gone to the back of the queue. It's done this one, it's done this one, it carries on, the call stack's empty, and then it's like, oh hey, shall I run the set timeout now? No, because there's another microtask that's being queued. So it does that one first, and then goes back to the set timeout. Alright, I think that's it for this video. There's not too much to say, like we're just focusing on macrotasks and microtasks and what the differences are between them, and I think we covered that. Just do a little small video for my return. But yeah, hopefully it was okay, and it's really nice to make one again. I feel a bit out of practice, so sorry if it is even worse than normal. But yeah, hopefully you learned something, and if you didn't learn anything, I hope you could at least laugh at me a little bit whilst I try and muddle my way through with lots of ums and ahs. But yeah, whatever your reason for comedy mocking of me, or for some learning, I hope you enjoyed yourself. Cheers everyone, until next one. I'll try not to leave it too long. Bye bye.